Hi everyone, Adrian from Audio Excellence Canada. Hope you're doing well. Vilip on my right and Angus behind the microphones. Today we're going to do the Sonus faber Lumina 5. As far as I know, it may be the first video that's on YouTube because it's just been released. Nobody's got it. As far as I know, we ordered a whole bunch of pairs and we got one. How many pairs? One. Ridiculous. So sorry, the rest of you guys, you have to wait. We have to open our demos first.
Maybe we shouldn't even talk about it. Just make them wait.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what we say about this. As usual, Vilip and I have not discussed this beforehand, so I don't know what he's going to say. But we did do an unboxing video, which either Angus or Jerry will link at the bottom, so you can watch that first, because I go into some technical description about the speakers. So the Lumina 5 is $27.99 US or $36.40 Canadian. The word Lumina is a contraction for three words: luxury, minimalist, and natural. Ooh, Lumina. I thought it was luminous.
Isn't there already a Lumina? Isn't that just another word?
It's a
in their popular lexicon.
The one thing I will say about Sonus faber, they have a very interesting, very good marketing team in that they come up with these wonderful names for their technology.
Well, what does Olympica stand for?
Well, that's
Nova Italian.
Well, the Olympica is a tribute to the
in Sonetto.
The theater.
Sonetto is like a
Sonetto. I don't know. It's just name
sonnet.
Yeah, but anyway, so I just like that they are able to come up with these wonderful.
Sorry, I
names.
interrupted you.
You're referencing that gentleman.
Someone's gonna flame you in the YouTube comments.
Yes, and just so you know, that's how
I always get attacked, right?
Yeah, that's
nobody else but me. I always get attacked.
Well, it's because you like
either I'm interrupting like I'm doing now, or I'm like way too big and fat for my own good health.
It's because you like the Leafs, man. All Leaf fans should be attacked. It's just how it is. The fact that you can be so persevering and so patient with such an obvious losing team, it's great. It's like what was it the Boston Red Sox?
Well, the Red Sox were one of the Cubs. The Cubbies were the long time sufferers.
Yeah, same thing, right? Forever, and then finally won.
My hope is that
before you die,
before I pass, yes, I would like the Leafs to win one championship.
Maybe before I die.
That could very well be, but my goal is to, have them win while I'm still aware of my surroundings.
Well, if Torontonians would stop going to the games, right? I think they would actually do something about getting really, really good teams and maybe win. It's just that, there's no compunction. Is that the word? There's no compelling reason for them to.
So a client of mine came in the other day, and
as usual, we're like way
up. But he tells me, "Oh yeah, I'm going to my Leaf draft. So he's picking tickets. He has 13 pairs of tickets for the upcoming year. So he shares them with some other, some of his friends, and so he's going to pick games. And I'm thinking, like, is he going to offer me a pair? No, he didn't. Very disappointed.
Note to Jerry: can you make timestamps in the video and just allow clients viewers to fast forward to the actual video itself? Anyway, here we go. The Lumina 5 is three-way. I mentioned $27.99 US, $36.40 Canadian. Three-way, one tweeter, 29 millimeter or 1.5 inch silk dome. It's the same tweeter as in the Sonetto series. The mid-range is 150 millimeters or 6 inches, also the same as the Sonetto. Custom built, all new design woofers, 265 millimeters or 6.5 inch drivers using natural fiber skins with a foam sandwich in between, honeycomb. 89 dB sensitivity, 4 ohm load. Dimensions are 1049 millimeters high by 280 wide by 372.6 deep, or 41.3 high. 11 inches wide and 14.7 inches deep. Actually, maybe one of the boys can shoot what it actually looks like standing beside it, and insert the picture. We'll also be doing sort of a relative comparison between the Lumina 5 and the 3. So we'll put them side by side so you can see what they actually look like and have somebody stand beside it. 38 to 24 kilohertz frequency response, 22.5 kilograms or almost 50 pounds, and it's vented through the bottom. The Lumina 3, just as a comparison, is $21.99 US or 28.60 Canadian. Okay, Vilip, you can now interrupt all you want.
You mean I can
The floor is
interject
yours.
and wow. So we opened the box up like, I guess what was it, Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Yeah. And we burned it in for definitely for at least 50 hours because we kept it running for over 2 days. Non-stop. And we did run it quite a bit yesterday as well. I don't believe it's fully broken in. Although, I don't think the 3 is really broken in either. But they're both had substantial hours on it. And it would have lost any of the initial harshness or analytical quality or just the stiffness of the speaker when it's brand new. Remarkably, I thought the 5 sounded a lot like the 3. I didn't find huge differences until I played certain songs. In other words, the mid-range and basically the upper treble are essentially, I think, the same between those two speakers. They both have the same qualities. It's a little bit forward, projecting into the room, and it just has that kind of a slightly more exciting, lively sound that we have come to associate with the Lumina series now, as compared to Sonetto. So when I delved more deeply into, well, at first I played the Lumina 3, and the review system basically is a Cayenne CS88,
88.
and we're using a ZenStream Hi-Fi
You should
ZenStream.
describe what the power is on that.
Oh, the CS88 is 50 watts or something like that, 50, 60 watts. It's a little bit more than the 55. It uses the same tubes, but has better transformers. It has octal-based triodes in the input stage. So it will present a bigger version of what the smaller Cayenne does. It's a little bit tubey. It's quite fast sounding for a tube amp. It's a nice amplifier. It's a very good, in Canadian dollars, that amp is about $4,000. It's nothing outrageous.
I like it a lot better than the CS55.
It has bit more bloom.
I like it a lot better.
It has a little bit more kind of like, it's a little bit more inviting.
Yeah.
I think it is better.
I mean, the CS55 is fantastic.
Well, it's fantastic
Certainly
value.
Incredible. But the 88, when I listen to it, I go, oh, I like this.
Yeah, it just plays bigger. So I played the 3s, and
I like big bottoms.
I know you like big bottoms.
Angus just snorted.
Yeah, you got
Which
me
is
off track here.
odd for Chinese, right? Because Asians don't actually have big bottoms.
They like the canto pop with the bright hot high end, which in some respects the Lumina does, because it has a slightly more energetic forward presentation. I think it's easier to listen to a speaker like that because it kind of calls to you, and certainly the 3 does that. And so when I put the 5 on, wait, let me get through the rest of the review system. So Cayenne CS88, which has KT88 tubes in it. It's about 50 watts, 60 watts, something. We'll put the power figures up. Hi-Fi ZenStream going into an HRT Streamer 3 USB DAC, which is kind of ancient, but that's what we've been using just because we have one of those around, and we can easily take it from amplifier to amplifier.
Well, it also puts into context the kind of budget that a lot of people may be using as well.
So even when that DAC was new, it was only $300, 300 Canadian dollars. So it was not a very expensive little USB DAC. The ZenStream is that good. It is able to portray realistically, even going into something that's kind of constrained from a budgetary or cost standpoint. I listened to Lumina 3. I listened to the first 10 or so songs on my playlist. my demo list. Then I quickly switched over to the 5. I'm expecting it to be fantastic. Really, I'm expecting it to be fantastic. And basically, when I played my first track, the female singer, Angus.
I just know the song's called.
Well, you'll put a picture up.
Jerry will.
Or Jerry will put a picture up. It was good. It was like almost identical, because that track has basically very minimal instrumentation and a female voice, so it's centered in the mid-range and a little bit in the lower treble. When I put Chris Stapleton on and it has drums kicking in and big bass in a sparse kind of setting, then you begin to notice what the 5 does in a way that's quite spectacular. You get all the extra little bits, bigger sound stage. You get a sense of this kind of like, there's a subtlety involved in what the 5 does over what the 3 does. It's just more realistic. But the biggest thing is obviously that big bottom end. It just kicks in. It's out of nowhere. I'm pretty sure you would have heard it and you would have liked it. I was thinking like, yeah, Adrian would like this.
To quote Al Pacino in The Scent of Woman, big ass.
It has that, but it comes out of nowhere. You kind of expect it, but it's not a big box. So when it does happen, it is surprising. And it didn't seem to have any limits. Now, I'm not saying it's the best textured or, from a accuracy standpoint, it's the most accurate, it's the tightest, but there is this big bass that comes out of it. And we have the speaker sitting about 5 to 6 feet away from the front wall. So there is no wall reinforcement that's happening. It is purely the speaker doing whatever it's doing. And that's with the tube amp, which you don't quite expect as well, because you expect it to be warm and rich and euphonic. And it's a little bit of that, but then there's this big bass that's happening, and of course you ask, where is this coming from? The other big thing about it is that, or the other startling revelation about that speaker is, and there's a hint of that in the Lumina 3, because of course it has a slightly brighter, more open kind of, that tweeter is being asked to do a bit more than I think in the Sonetto. There's more of it happening with that tweeter in the Lumina, and it's a bit more forward the way they voice it. It has a slightly, higher frequency. There's more high frequencies coming out of it, I think. The sensitivity is being increased a little bit in the crossover. So with the 5, what you get from it, suddenly it all comes to fruition. Everything that they hinted about in all the earlier Luminas really comes to the 4 and the 5. It's very funny, right? I played my on my playlist. There's a movement from Hosts, the planets. It's Jupiter, the Jupiter movement, and it's not a great recording. It's from the early 70s, but it's all analog. Originally all analog, and played on the Lumina 5. There was like a ton of sparkles happening. It seemed to match perfectly well with what they were trying to do in this recording, and it just came to life. It just leapt out of the speaker. It filled the room in a way that I hadn't heard that recording before, and I've listened to that recording lots of times on lots of really, really good speakers and good systems in the store. But just with that one track really highlighted how well I think the Lumina 5 can play classical music. Everything was like intricately layered. There was a lot of top end openness, and you could hear clearly delineated all the sparkly bits of that recording. And I didn't get that in the 3. I did get it in the 5, and in a way, yeah, I've never heard it before like that. And so, being that the speaker is a bit more forward and a bit brighter sounding than the normal kind of Sonus faber voicing, it makes a lot of stuff much more easily accessible. And I think the 5 is it should take sales away from the Sonetto 3, I think. You don't need to have as good an amplifier on it. It's just much more inviting. It does like grabs you a little bit. It grabs you, unlike the other Sonus fabers. Yeah, I don't know what more I could say about it that wouldn't.
Oh, pretty much similar in terms of what you discovered. I'm trying to sort of think of things that I can talk about that's maybe you didn't cover, but you covered pretty much everything. So my first impression when I played through my playlist, very smooth, very relaxed, good deep bass. Again, the first couple of tracks where they were not all that exciting yet, but I discovered these things. I also noticed that the center image was very, very focused. I liked that a lot. And as Vilip pointed out, mid-range is similar to the rest of the line, just beautiful. I really like that. Then I played Lyle Levitt's Highway Kind, and I noticed right away that the guitar detail is excellent. So 3 weeks ago, when we finally had the big Sonus fabers connected, and I was listening for hours, and then the boys came in, and I said to Vilip, boy, listen to this guitar. You can hear Lyle Levitt's guitar. It's so crisp, so clear. You can hear everything. So when I heard this piece again through the Lumina V, I was very pleasantly surprised that a speaker this inexpensive compared to the top of the line, there are so many similarities. But then I shouldn't be surprised because unlike a lot of maybe very big companies, speaker companies, where they may have different engineering teams or they have very specific voices they're trying to achieve, with Sonus faber, it's basically the same design team, always with the same ideas of what they're trying to achieve, with slightly different, obviously, compromises for different price points. But they're very clear in terms of what their company's voicing is like. So I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was. Buddy Holly, True Love Ways, as Vilip pointed out, very intimate. It sounded like he's right in the room. It's 1950s all over again, and he's there.
I think for certain recordings where, like that recording, even on other equipment, they do sound like they're in the room. But with this pair of speakers, it was like you were right, you could touch them.
Yeah, very palpable. And then right after that in my playlist, Peter, Paul, and Mary, All My Trials. Again, so beautiful, so heartfelt. And the harmonies, wow, the three people singing at the same time. Then the other thing I thought about is all through the first few in my playlist, I was only listening to the content of the music and how it attracted me. And I wasn't really paying attention to the result. In other words, the audiophile stuff. So I thought, okay, I better start paying attention. So the next cut is Dead Mouse's Sia. And the soundstage is ginormous. It's as wide as the walls are apart, of the room, almost as if it was three-dimensional and surround sound. I was quite impressed. And then this recording played at medium to high levels. The bass impact was crazy, just hitting you right in the chest, goes all the way down, no strain, no harshness. And then I'm thinking, this is not exactly a huge speaker. It doesn't have huge drivers, and yet it pounds. It does a great job. It's not sloppy. And as Vilip pointed out, we're using tubes. This is not some big kick-ass solid-state amp. Then I thought, okay, let's try some depth, because audiophiles, we love depth, right? I mean, soundstage is one thing, but depth is another thing altogether. So I put John Campbell down in the hole, and the drums are like way back, like all the way in the back. Really quite interesting. And then John Rutter's Requiem for Choir and Orchestra. The solo voice is clearly behind the speakers, and the choir all around her and behind her, and this beautiful harmony from the deep organ, just absolutely gorgeous. The one thing I did notice, I made a point, suddenly it hit me. You know how with certain systems or with certain speakers, after a while you subconsciously pick certain genres and certain music to play on it, and it could be just a subconscious thing. And I realized that maybe that's because there are certain compromises or flaws or shortcomings of that system. So, for example, a beautiful mid-range speaker that can only play mid-range, and so you only primarily play small ensembles, voices, little small things, right? And then full range stuff, you want to pull out the big, Titanics, the 1812 overtures and things like this. Well, what was fascinating was that I was jumping all over my playlist and tangentially off all kinds of other stuff, because every time I would play a piece of music, something else would trigger and I would play that. So to give you an idea of what I was playing, I started after I realized, I was playing Puccini's La Bohème with Von Karajan and Pavarotti. And it was so beautiful. This particular recording is done in the 70s. Not a great recording, but Pavarotti at his highest, capability at the time. And when the highs are a bit rolled off, but interestingly enough, because he's so powerful, when he hits full voice at high B, a lot of systems will shrill at you. With the Soneto and with the tube amplifier, I didn't have this at all. And I was playing it quite loudly.
You mean the Lumina?
With the Lumina, I was quite blown away. It's like, wow, this is pretty loud. I'm not getting any kind of ringing or harshness. So then I thought, what the hell, let's try something else. I played Rolling Stones, all the way from Puccini to Rolling Stones, Satisfaction, right? And the reason I played those because my father used to really love Von Karajan. So I was thinking about memories, and then I thought, Charlie Watt, right? She just passed away. Let me play something. And Satisfaction, of course, Rolling Stones, cranking it. I'm boogieing, I'm listening, completely forget about taking notes. Then right after that, for some reason, I thought, let me play some folk. I have no idea how I jumped from Stones to the Grateful Dead. And I started playing that. And then after that, I thought, let's wake myself up. Billie Eilish, right? Boom. Bad Guy. Cranked. And if you've never heard this, you got to hear this. You audiophiles, you got to do yourself a favor. Here's this. How old is she? 18?
She's younger than me, so I think she's 18, 19.
Yeah, when this album came out, she wasn't even 18 yet.
20 now.
Yeah, when this album came out, she was not legal, so to speak. And, well, legal as
She
like
was an
drinking
adult.
and stuff, right? But this...
In the States, you have to be like 21.
Yeah.
I'm technically not legal to drink in the States.
So this album has some incredibly well-produced cuts, and the bass plumbs all. This thing was shaking my room. I was having a blast playing this, and then from there I decided, let's go to the Beach Boys, right? Billie Eilish, Beach Boys, in my room, and instantly you hear Brian Wilson wistfully singing about wanting to be left alone, right? He's having a hard time dealing with success, with fame, with paranoia, doing a lot of drugs, and always paranoid that his music wasn't as good as the Beatles and all this kind of stuff. And so he writes this beautiful melody. And I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is what a great system can do to you. You get lost, your soul is revived. It's just such a beautiful trip. And I say all this, realizing that this morning I woke up again at 1:00 as usual, and playing this music completely woke me up and brought so much joy to my soul. So, like Vilip says, this speaker is, well, I don't know what Vilip has come to a conclusion, but I tell you what, this speaker is phenomenal, like truly phenomenal.
Well, again, I think that
it'll take some sales from the Soneto.
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
I think that there will be some people who will like the Sonetos because they are slightly more laid back. They are more of the traditional Sonus faber sound, but there's no doubt that this speaker is definitely more of what is the Olympic Games decathlon, right? It may not be the best in any particular area, but it can do great in 10 areas.
It's an all-rounder.
Yeah.
It's really well balanced. It doesn't suffer with any genre.
No. Yeah, it's precisely my
So
point.
you can play small and big at the same volume.
Oh yeah. Which is what I finally, when I was looking at the music I was playing, I suddenly realized, my God, if I had more time, my next stop would have been Bob Marley, right? And others, because I was having such a great time listening to such a broad range of music. There wasn't anything I had played that it couldn't do.
So I will say this, in my opinion, and one of the strengths of the Sonetto is that I find it extremely neutral. Oh, 5 minutes. Okay, I do find the Lumina, especially the 3 and the 5, to be definitely more colored in a way that's not neutral. I can't quite put a pin on it. I would describe it as a certain whiteness, or sort of like you have blackness in the background. There's a certain whiteness to the speaker that is always present, that creates this kind of energy and this involvement, and especially in the 5, it has much more of that. It does get in the way a little bit in some tracks.
The smart ass in me is going to say that the proponents of the critical race theory is going to say you're racist.
What I mean by whiteness is that if you
all those of you who are politically correct or incorrect, don't bother.
So it's the question about pink noise or white noise or FM static, or there's a little bit of this energy that's prevalent basically at every frequency through the mid-range and the upper treble. When I played this track a million times. I played Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong from recording Ella and Louis. The Nearness of You is on my playlist. I play this track all the time. It's a mono recorded in 1955. All tube gear, best of the best at the time. It's one of the great recordings, and I heard it in the 3 and I heard it in the 5. A little bit less in the 5, but there was a kind of that there's a little sort of presence in the upper mid range, lower treble, and I think that's why it's sort of that exciting. It's always that little bit exciting, and there's like this kind of like siren call in a way.
But it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
There are all
it's
kinds
very, very pleasant.
Yeah, there's all kinds of speakers that are more forward and present, and I don't like it because somehow the overall balance doesn't work. Whereas this one, oh my God. And I'm not saying this because we're a dealer. I'm saying, honestly, you got to hear these speakers. And I'm sorry to say, if you like them, you can't buy them. There's none available. We are way back ordered. There's none available. So you got to get in line. But if you can, and your local dealer has a pair, do yourself a favor, go in and listen to them. I think you might find that you don't have to spend a whole lot more money. These speakers may well be all you need. I'm really that impressed.
I definitely agree with you. Of course, I guess the final arbiter of all of this stuff is whether or not I want to have them or buy them.
You have enough stuff.
I have more than enough stuff, but obviously I do like these a lot.
Yeah, next video he'll say I bought one. Anyway, we got to run off. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, notification, all those kinds of things. Please, we appreciate it. And thank you very much for watching. Adrian from Audio Excellence Canada, Vilip and Angus the Beef. See you next time. Bye-bye.